I mean, one of the things I know I struggle with, and a lot of folks, is confidence of like, yeah, I have that idea. I have it written down in front of me somewhere. Like, gosh, I can't put that out and let my neighbors or my colleagues or whoever read that. Like, oh my God, until it's perfect. And even when it's perfect, they might not put it out. What do you say to
Right.
folks like that? Like, did you ever have confidence issues?
No, I didn't. Well, not since I was 18. Uh, Sorry, I've told the story publicly before, but God, I don't know if I've ever actually written about it in my blog. Anyway, Tarleton is the name of my old boss at the circus. From the age of 18 to 29, I was the ringleader MC of a circus. And my boss was this amazing, gorgeous, wonderful woman named Tarleton. I was 18, she was probably 35. And we spent hundreds of hours together in the circus. And after about a year together, I was still very insecure at the age of 18, right? So I had no confidence at the age of, let's say, 17, 18. Um, but somewhere around the age of 18, 19, after a year with the circus, Tarleton was so effusive in her compliments for me, saying I'm the most amazing guy she's ever met. I'm so wonderful. And any woman who doesn't appreciate that, that's her problem. And at first I thought that all these things she was saying were just her trying to be nice, you know. But after a year, they actually kind of got into my soul. And I think ever since the age of 19, I've had quite a confident swagger to me. So, sorry, you're asking two different questions. You asked about me, and okay, that's me, but that may not be helpful to anybody else that hasn't worked in a circus with Tarleton. Um, but for others, um, hmm, I do think it's important to do your best, to be proud of what you're making, and know that whatever you're putting out into the world is your best effort. You don't want to half-ass it just to get it out. Unless that's a strategy to release something to the public intentionally in a beta state of mind. Like, hey world, this isn't perfect, but let me know what you think of this. Please give me some suggestions on how you think this could be better. And then you start to see your creation through the eyes of others instead of just through your own thought spaghetti. Um, and it can help you improve it if your audience is understanding that this is your beta test, that maybe you tell insiders first, you tell your friends and your private mailing list first before you tell the whole world, so that they can say, "Oh, Brian, yeah, that's a terrible title," or "You really drone on too long at the beginning before you get to the point." And then you see it through their eyes and you go, "Oh my God, yeah, you're right. Yeah, wow, okay." And then you fix it, and then through the feedback of others, you can improve something further until you really feel like, I think this is my best. This is all I've got.
Well, and even if they don't have an audience, it's giving it to your spouse or your best friend. And hey, would you
Mm-hmm.
checking this out and give me some? I find that that's one of the hardest things folks have is like giving it to their, I say the neighbor, but like giving it to someone really close to them, and almost like it's a
Yeah.
vulnerability. It's like it's like hard to be vulnerable with something, because we get these identities of like for the longest time, I was a TJ professional. I used to teach golf. That was my first career, right? And when I was leaving the golf industry, I was the golf guy. I was so fearful of telling people I was leaving because I was the golf
Hmm.
guy. And like, how was that going to look? How are people going to perceive me? And I know it's the same thing with even when I started this podcast, like telling people I was starting a podcast, they look at me, and this is 2017. They're looking at me like I have four eyes. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, because again, I wasn't whatever. There wasn't a name attached to it besides Brian, that someone that I know that doesn't do this. So it's that identity, I
Yeah.
guess, that we grab onto.
Yeah. I do find it more useful to get feedback from people that are not super close to you, people
Okay.
who might be aware of you, but are in that outer circle, not your inner circle.
Hmm.
They tend to be more objective and helpfully dismissive. Like if they look at something you've done and just said, honestly, I don't know what you're on about here.
Yeah.
That's actually really useful. That if somebody in the outer circle just took a look at something you're launching and in 30 seconds just can't figure out what you're even saying, they'll just tell you, like, sorry, I don't even know what you're doing here. That's more useful than if somebody that's really close to you, a dear friend, might look at it and go, okay, let me sit with this a little longer. But most people don't do that. So it really helps to have your beta audience be somewhat disconnected and disinterested.
Man, I mean, that's a great point, I guess. Because if you give it to your mom, they're not going to say anything bad. Potential, well, maybe who knows? Depending on who the mom is, but they might not say anything
Yeah.
bad. Like, oh, this is beautiful, this is great. Which again, that encouragement is good. But if you're trying to get to a better level, you need
Right.
so it takes from because you said something earlier, which I want to make sure, but we'll kind of go down two alleyways at the same time. But you mentioned about, I'm not sure what people can take from my story of being in the ringleader, but actually, I think having that support system, having people that are giving you confidence and saying those kind of things, that's what we need, that positivity. Because I think if you are
Mm.
told that you suck and you're never good enough, you might be able to overcome that and become better. But a lot of folks probably would go hide. Would you agree with that,
Mm.
or would you go from a different side of it?
Hmm. I honestly don't know. This is where my own perspective might be skewing it because, like I said, I've had plenty of confidence. I've always been seeking criticism. I don't need more compliments. Don't tell me it's good. Tell me what could be better. So maybe that's from my confidence, or maybe it's just from a really intense will and drive to make this thing happen. Like if you're, maybe that's the distinction here. If you're on the fence, if you're feeling tentative about doing something or not, if it's a delicate motivation, then yeah, you probably do need compliments and
Yeah,
positive reinforcement. But if you've got this intense drive that even if from day one you were just like, oh, hell no, I am going to be a great podcaster. I
right.
really, really want this. I'm doing this no matter what anybody says. And if you had this intense drive, then what you should be seeking is criticism, critique, trash it. Tell me what's wrong. Don't tell me anything that's good about it. Tell me only what's wrong with it. Tell
Yeah.
me how it could be better because um, that's what will help you improve. That said, um, even with that intense drive, it can help to hear uh, what people like about something. So if somebody says uh, right away, like, ooh, I love the title of your podcast or whatever it may be, then that can really help you to emphasize that. Like, ooh, okay, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on the title. Or say you're launching a product or a service and you've got a certain aspect of it that people say, ooh, I really like that. That can help you amplify that thing that they really like
Mm.
and call even more attention to it. So I shouldn't actually say, ignore all positive feedback because sometimes the positive feedback can help you uh, realize that maybe something in your offerings should be highlighted a little more since people seem to like it.
Yeah, and I think if it's mixed, right? You might get someone that you respect, maybe it's a mentor, someone like that. That's like, hey, the title's great. By the way, I'd encourage you to look at this. So who knows? You might get a few.
Yes, that's the best.
Yeah,
Yeah. If they can, say the thing or two that you like the best,
right.
and then give me a handful of things that you think could be improved.
Yeah.
That's the best feedback.
You made a great point though. I had this visual in my head of like, and I don't know, it's because it's in my logo with the mountain, but like you think of climbing a mountain, right? At the beginning, you're putting out things in your bag, you're excited for the hike, but you're probably nervous, you're trying not to trip and fall.
Mhm.
But once you get over a few peaks and you kind of look back and you're like, look at what I did, the confidence grows. So if someone's like, hey, you're not a great hiker, you're kind of like, Yes, I am. I've just done all this stuff. So that I don't know. I never
Mm,
really thought of it like you just mentioned, but like at the beginning stages, you probably need that confidence, or excuse me, the support to really, give you the positive feedback. But as you go through the journey,
right.
you get beat up and you get off the mat, and you're back up to fight again. If I use a little Rocky here,
Yeah.
you almost can take more of the criticism and you're okay with it because you know what you've done. It's kind of like that man in the arena speech, right? It's like you're down here, you're doing it. So let the crowd yell at you because you've already accomplished things. I don't know. I'm
Nice.
thinking out loud here, but I kind
I
of like,
like that. I think you're right.